And yes, we are back again with the pop culture cosmos. It's Gerald coming right back at you here. And in our segment that we usually have every once in a while that won't make vegans very happy, it is once again my good friend from Australia. I tell you what, if you have not heard yet the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast and you can eat meat and you like to eat meat, it is definitely something you have got to check out. It's now 3 seasons in. And I'll tell you what, it is definitely worth listening to for all the great details about barbecuing, the actual competitions, the actual competition phase. Just his interviews, his detail, and as far as the whole barbecue grilling world. It is my good friend who is also releasing this week 2 awesome ebooks I got a chance to check out that make me so much hungrier. It is my good friend Ben Arnot. What's up, man?
Oh, mate, just loving the weather here in the Queensland summer. Been outside pressure cleaning all the concrete and all that sort of stuff. So luckily I've got a hat on. I'm a little bit follically challenged these days, and just been eating ice blocks all afternoon to cool down to jump on the internet and do this interview with you.
Well, it could be worse. It could be coming out all gray like mine.
Yeah, well, it's coming out gray in the beard though.
Fair enough. Well, that's why I don't grow it long myself, because it would all be gray on mine. But I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about something that you mentioned to me that you thought would be a great idea to talk about on this week's show. And that is the power of lamb, because you and I have talked extensively about all these different meats, vegetables, hors d'oeuvres, party foods, major dinners, grilling at its finest, holiday meals. We've talked about so many things that you can go ahead and have a good time as far as great grilling ideas, great recipes, but we didn't want to leave out any lamb. We didn't want to leave out lamb as out of the equation, because I'll tell you what, here in America, we do love our lamb, especially if you're into Greek food like I am. My gosh, the gyro is just so awesome to eat.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. We're really into our lamb over here as well. Australia has the nickname of being, the country born off the lamb's back, because of all the early sheep stations that were happening during the time when Australia was settled. And so we've got this sort of deep cultural connection with lamb. And coming up later in the month is January 26th. It's Australia Day. It's our version of, I guess, 4th of July, sort of celebrating the birthday of Australia, if you will. Of modern Australia, that is, not to discount the traditional Australians, of course. And so one thing that's really big on everybody's minds in Australia at the moment is, what lamb are we going to cook for Australia Day? And so what I thought I'd talk to you about today is, as well as gyros, lamb on the spit. A leg of lamb goes very well on a spit as well. Possibly even have a bit of a chat about doing a pulled lamb, which is kind of a fusion between our traditional Australian lamb flavors and your American style of barbecue. So you've got your pulled pork as inspiration, but putting an Aussie lamb spin on that.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, my friend, because I'll tell you what, lamb is very underrated as far as the taste, texture. To me, it just seems like it's really, really good when it's seasoned. Like I said, gyros are very popular here, but there's so many other ways, like you're describing, that you can utilize the lamb as far as a great grilling idea the next time you go ahead and go enjoy a barbecue.
Yeah, definitely. One of the most popular ways to eat lamb off a grill here in Australia is to get the little French lamb chops, the little cutlets. And you can just sort of quickly flash grill them. They've got the little circles of eye fillets coming off the bone, kind of like a small rib on the bone, ribeye steak, for example. And you can just quickly flash grill them, 1 minute, 2 minutes on either side, and then just pick them up fresh off the grill. They even come with their own handle, and they're nice little bite-sized pieces, and they are just divine that way as well.
Oh my gosh, you're getting me hungry already. Man, you got to stop doing this to me. Each and every time I talk to you, I get hungrier. I'm trying to lose weight, man. I'm trying to lose weight.
Yeah, me too. That's why I have to talk about it, because I have to spend less time actually cooking it and eating it at the moment. So if you wanted to go and do a pulled lamb, you'd start off at the butcher shop and you ask for a whole lamb shoulder, kind of like you would with a pork. And one tip that I picked up from my brother-in-law, who's a chef, is he takes a paring knife and he'll pop a whole bunch of little holes all around the lamb shoulder, and he'll slice some slivers of fresh garlic and get some sprigs of fresh rosemary, and he'll stuff them down into the holes of the lamb, and then you put that on your smoker like you would a regular pork shoulder. It's a little bit of a gamier type of meat, so you want to sort of steer clear of the mesquites or the hickories and maybe move towards a kind of an oak type smoke flavor. Just something a little bit subtler, so you don't have the complex flavor of the lamb trying to compete with the strength of that mesquite or hickory flavor. And
And that's something I want to ask you real quick. When you're talking about lamb and cooking lamb, some people may be intimidated by the fact that, I don't know, just a perception maybe is that lambs, because like you talk about with smoking it and obviously putting it on the grill and whatnot, that it takes a little bit longer to cook as far as the impression wise than maybe some other meats that might cook a little bit faster. But the taste, the flavor seems to be a whole lot better than many others when it comes off the grill or out of the smoker.
yeah, well, the difference there, of course, is grilling versus smoking. So grilling is high temperature direct heat. And what happens when you're doing that, oftentimes, the reason that a lot of people get into trouble is that they overcook it. And because as the meat gets hot, it contracts. And so you can end up with tough meat. By smoking it instead, particularly important with lamb, which can, depending on when the lamb was butchered, can get a little bit tough. If you put it on the smoker instead, you're cooking it at indirect heat over lower temperatures. And so all those fats, all those sinews, all those connective tissues, they all melt down and disappear into delicious, flavorful juices, exactly the same way as if you were doing a pulled pork or a brisket. And so with that shoulder of lamb, you're going to throw that in the smoker, smoke it up exactly the same as you would a pork shoulder. As I said, the slices of garlic, the fresh rosemary, salt and pepper, that's it. That's all you need. It's going to cook quicker than a pork shoulder because it's smaller. So you could put two or three in, and two or three together will still cook quicker than one pork shoulder. And then when it's done, you just grab your meat claws and you rip it up just the same as you would a pork shoulder, and it's happy days. And something we love to do here at home, seeing as you're talking about Greek gyros, is my wife will actually she'll blend up some Greek yogurt with some garlic and some herbs, and basically make like a tzatziki sauce, and put that all over through this low and slow smoked lamb, and it's the best way to eat lamb.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more because obviously with the gyros that it doesn't feel complete without the tzatziki sauce, and it just adds that flavor to it, adds that nice little kick each and every time we go ahead and you take a bite of it, whether you're eating it as a gyro or like you're doing with the pork shoulders or even some good old-fashioned pork chops right there out on the grill. I want to ask you though, on a little bit on the side of that is, when you have a plate of, let's say, like you were talking about, the finished product with the pork that's out there, what do you suggest is maybe like a side to that to maybe make it a complete meal for everyone out there?
Well, you really can't go wrong when you're talking about lamb with some traditional style roast vegetables. If you're cooking on like an offset smoker or something, well, when the lamb shoulders are finished, you're going to pull them off. You're going to wrap them up in foil, wrap them up in a towel, put them in a dry cooler, and that will actually retain the heat of those lamb shoulders for up to 4 hours. And so during that time, you can crank the temperature up on your smoker, and you can throw in a couple of trays of vegetables, and you can roast the vegetables in there. So some pumpkins, some potato, some onion, particularly red onion, because it roasts up quite sweet. It ends up very nice. And something I even like to do is take beetroot. I think you guys just call them beets, and just cube up some beets and just throw them in there as well, and just roast them as well.
Oh,
And
that's absolutely a great idea because beets are often forgotten about here in the States.
yeah, yeah. Well, they're actually a superfood. So if you can get them into your smoker as well, and just roast them up alongside some vegetables, you can throw in some entire bushels of garlic, just like completely enclosed in all their leaves. Throw that in there, roast that up. When that's all mushy and soft, that garlic is just divine. And so yeah, that's what I like to do, to have a just a nice vegetable dish. Because one of the traditional meals here in Australia is grandma's family lamb roast on a Sunday, and grandma would get her oven and she'd do her tray of veggies and she'd get her leg of lamb, and you'd go around there and you'd have your lamb and roast veggies for your Sunday afternoon family lunch. And so this is a bit of a fusion barbecue spin on that.
Oh, that's awesome. It's just, oh, you're just killing me, man. You're just killing me. I'm telling you. Once again, is my good friend Ben Arnot from the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. You got to check it out today on Apple Podcasts and every other major podcast outlet. Also, as well, his great website, smokinghotconfessions.com. You're going to read a lot of stories, a lot of interviews, and also, as well, you're going to see a lot of great recipes and a lot of awesome pictures that are there showing the delectable food and the delectable, the tasty, the tasty meals that he cooks up and grills out there and puts out on the grill. One last thing I want to tell everybody out there is that there's a major announcement that you want to make in regards to some ebooks that are on the way real soon. I love the titles, and I'll ask you a couple questions off of them. But first, I want to make sure that you go ahead and announce what's coming up real soon with the Smoking Hot Confessions world.
Yeah, thanks, man. Look, this is really exciting. So, one of the things that I love doing is cooking barbecue, eating barbecue, but also photographing barbecue and writing about barbecue. Oh, and talking about barbecue, of course, with the podcast. So, what I've done is I've taken a lot of those photographs and a lot of those writings, and I've combined them together into a couple of ebooks. And so I've got them coming out for release. They're gonna be available on the website Thursday in Australia, which will be about Wednesday in the States. And the two books are they're very different books. The first one's called 27 Lessons Learned from Competition Barbecue, and that's to help people who are thinking about getting out of the backyard and heading into the pit yard, who maybe they want to try competition barbecue. And it's not so much about recipes, but it's about all the other stuff that nobody tells you about competition barbecue. So
And
it's all
I noticed. Well, I noticed that because, if I may, I'm sorry.
no, no,
I
yeah.
noticed that. I noticed that the just some of the things that you were talking about, even with just offhandedly talking about other things outside of the grilling nature to grab that attention, including social media, is so important to just get people in to go ahead and get that type of attention, to get that type of interest. So many other things that I was reading in there as far as all the tricks that will help you at least give you a better idea whether or not you're up for competition barbecue.
Yeah, well, the tagline on the book is to help you get the most out of your competition experience. And the competition experience is about so much more than getting up on stage and getting a trophy. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love that walk up on the stage and I do love collecting my trophies. But even if you're not collecting a trophy, that doesn't mean that that you've lost the competition. There's still so many things that you can do to have an incredible competition experience, which you can build on and use again later. And so that book is basically a compilation of all the different lessons that I've learned, mostly the hard way, over the last 4 or 5 years of competition barbecue, and just to try and help people, as I said, get the most out of their competition experience.
And that's what I was reading when I was going over all the steps in there. I was noticing from that a lot of personal experience that you have gone through with things that you should and should not do, like when to go ahead and promote your product, when to go ahead and put it out there, when to go ahead and not upstage others, and go ahead and trying to go ahead and be the best you can as far as what you're focusing on, your major focus, make sure your equipment's right, and the whole 9 yards. Just you go into such great detail as far as to give people a better idea if they're going to be able to go ahead and enter the world of competition barbecue.
Exactly, mate. You've just summed it up really nicely.
Well, I'm trying because that's what I got. I was reading it in detail, and it was like I could just pinpoint things that, okay, he knows this because he did this in the opposite way, and you know what, he's trying to make sure everybody doesn't do it the way he did it before. So I completely understand. It's a lot of it's trial by error when we're doing things in life. I mean, podcasting for me was the same way. So definitely, I completely understand. So But one thing I want to talk to you about as well is the Bacon Manifesto. And we've talked about a lot of the recipes that you've had in this one, but it's more of a personal thing, I think, when it comes to just when it comes to the Bacon Manifesto, because it just, I don't know, it means so much to so many people when it comes to good bacon.
Yeah, look, there's little other foods out there in the world at the moment that's more popular than bacon. It's been with us for thousands of years. It originated from different techniques for salting pork. Way back before we all had refrigerators and freezers in our houses. We're talking, thousands of years ago. And those techniques for preserving the meat has has led to bacon, and bacon, just personally, I just find it amazing. I do all sorts of things with it. And so, as we said, I cook a lot with bacon, and so I compiled all the most popular bacon recipes into this one book. But it's not just that. Before you get to the recipes, there's a whole section in the book about how you can make bacon at home. Because I got to tell you, once you've made your own bacon at home, you're never going to go back to the store to buy store-bought barbecue again. There's just nothing like homemade bacon. So we have a bit of a look very briefly at the history of bacon, about why bacon's so popular, before we really jump into that how to make bacon section. And it's all step-by-step, photographs laid out beautifully. I've been working with a professional graphic designer who's very, very talented. It's all laid out very logically, and it's incredibly simple to make bacon at home. And then we jump into the recipes. So there's bacon jam. Oh, I haven't talked about bacon jam yet, have I?
You talked to me a little bit in our conversation as far as we were heading into something else, and you touched on it real briefly. I know there was also chili dogs, which I definitely on our next conversation want to talk to you about, because it really gets into barbecuing season here in the States when you talk about spring one up. But that I'm saving for another day. But if you want to check it out, it comes out this week. So he'll tell you here in a second how to get a hold of that. But then you also talk about the bacon maple pie. That caught my eye, and again, we're going to save that for another day. But I'll tell you what, I'm just going to reveal too much. I don't want. It's like I don't want to spoil too much. Go ahead and elaborate a little bit more about what's going on. What's going on with the Bacon Manifesto? Because it's so good and tasty.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Now that maple bacon pecan pie, that recipe in there, that's really taken off here in Australia. People have seen that on my website, and they just love it. So in November, I flew across to Western Australia on the other side of the country to Perth, and to MC a big barbecue festival over there. It was Smoking on the Water. It's a big charity barbecue festival. And I was walking past one of the food vendors, and he had this massive lineup of people coming out. And I saw all these people walking around with these slices of pie, and I thought, they look really familiar. And the food vendor saw me, goes, oh, Ben's here. Ben, you got to get over here. You got to get over here. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And he'd made up a whole bunch of these maple bacon pecan pies and sold out the lot in about 30 minutes. That really just made the weekend for me, just to see that my recipe had been adopted and embraced and was so successful across the population. So that recipe's in the book. As you mentioned, the chili dog recipe's in there. There's Ninja Turtle burgers if you're cooking for kids. That's a very unique way of getting some good meat, some good protein, some good food into what looks like junk party food for kids. And of course, there's the Thanksgiving fatty, which I think was one of the first things we ever talked about. You interviewed me about Thanksgiving, so that recipe's in there as well.
It is. It is. It was so tasty to hear you say that. And I actually got pictures of it, and I remember going ahead and flashing it out there, and I got some feedback. What is that? What is that? That looks good. But I'll tell you what, you're right on that. When it comes to the Bacon Manifesto, you learn the ins and out of bacon, and more than, well, I guess a lot of people wanted to know. But you know what? If you really wanted to know about bacon, you're going to get that and then some when it comes to the Bacon Manifesto, plus also 27 lessons learned from competition barbecue. Those ebooks are going to be available, you said, in the middle of the week.
Yes, in the middle of the week. So it'll be Thursday for me, Wednesday for you.
How can they get a hold? How can, well, now these hungry people out there get a hold of these awesome ebooks from Smoking Hot Confessions?
Well, they head over to smokinghotconfessions.com. If they want to go there right now, they can sign up for the newsletter. And as soon as the books are available, I'll be sending out an email telling everybody that they're there. Otherwise, after Wednesday, you'll be able to go to smokinghotconfessions.com/ebooks, and you'll find the books there.
I'll tell you what, from personal experience and looking these over, they're very well laid out. I was actually going to suggest to you, especially when it comes to the Bacon Manifesto, in a coffee book design. I think that would be really great for somebody to just put that there right on the table, just this big picture of a bacon and all the great stuff inside and all the great information inside. Just truly would be awesome for us bacon lovers out there, that's for sure. But also, do not forget the 27 lessons learned from competition barbecue. But we cannot finish our conversation about anything going on when it comes to Smoking Hot Confessions without talking about your awesome site and also your truly fantastic podcast.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so you mentioned the podcast at the top of the interview here. So I'm working through season 4 at the moment. We've got 7 out of 10 episodes up for that already. The next one comes out on Thursday, so I've got a busy week coming up preparing the website for the book launch and the next episode series. So this current season is it's season 4, and it's the 2018 festival series. So throughout the year, I've been traveling around Australia, going to, I think I hit 4 out of the 6 states, 7 states, and I've managed to get to 10 different festivals. And I was, running around interviewing people. I was jumping up on stage, hosting Q&A sessions, cooking demonstrations, all of those sort of things. And of course, because I'm a bit of a techno nerd junkie, I was recording everything, documenting everything. And so that's all gone into 10 episodes, which is going up at the moment. There's also a whole lot of reviews on there. There's articles on the industry, different opinion pieces. Recipes, as we were talking about before, there's some delicious recipes up there at the moment. And coming up in the future, I'm going to be heading back to the States in about 8 weeks from now. I'll be back in the States for a month, and I'm going to be hitting up New Orleans. I'm going to be going to the Hammond Barbecue Challenge, and then the next weekend down to Hogs for the Cause, which is raising money for kids with brain cancer. So that's a great cause to be a part of. I'm going to be there with my buddy, the Barbecue Ninja. We're going to be cooking up some whole hogs and hoping to win some trophies and raise some money. And then I'm actually heading up to Kansas City for the NBBQA, the National Barbecue Grilling Association Conference and Awards, where I'm going to be part of the official barbecue media team. And then we're dropping down into Arkansas for a bit of family time with the wife's family. But I did just spot a State Cook-Off Association competition happening on the weekend that we're going to be there, just a little 2-hour drive away. So I'm thinking, I've actually just shot them an email about an hour ago, just trying to work out if we can line something up there, see if I can squeeze in another bit of content generation there. And I've asked them if it's possible if I could maybe compete there and, throw my hat in the ring there and have a go. So
that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Like a fun trip to the States that's coming up for you. Just cannot thank you enough for everything that you do for us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But once again, Ben, just tell you what, you got me too hungry, man. But I'm now gonna have to hit the store. It's 12:30 at night, but you know what? I'm gonna have to hit the store after our conversation here because you know what? Your stuff that you say, whether it's on the SmokingHotConfessions.com website, the Smoking Hot Confessions the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast, now in season 4. And also, as well, the 2 great ebooks you've got coming out to everybody out there, the 27 lessons learned from competition barbecue, and of course, the Bacon Manifesto. Boy, do I love saying that one. Just awesome to talk to you about all that great stuff. Any last thoughts on the way out?
look, man, I understand that it's 12:30 your time over there. So, thanks very much for having me on the show. And I'm sure that, there must be a 24-hour HEB near you there somewhere. You can go out and get some bacon right now.
You know it's Vegas. 24/7, baby. 24/7, my man. 24/7. I'll tell you what, it's just always great talking to you, my friend. Always great having you part of the show, and always great to have you a part of the Pop Culture Cosmos.